According to a report, the global games and puzzles market reached a value of $11 billion in 2020 alone. Another study shows that the market size is anticipated to reach $47.83 billion by 2027. The African continent has a long history of gameplay that extends back to pre-slavery and pre-colonial times. Games have been part of the social fabric of many African societies for hundreds of years. For example, the Murabaraba board game was historically used to share cattle herding strategies in parts of Southern Africa and discuss information related to war strategies. In Nigeria, there is hardly any data on the tabletop game industry. While games like chess, Ludo and Scrabble are popular, the local sector is still largely untapped. We speak with Kenechukwu Ogbuagu, a Nigerian board game designer who is causing a positive change in the board game industry in Nigeria.
In 2013, I was still a student in the University of Calabar. There was this ASU strike. It lasted for 6 months at the time, but when it was going on, we didn't know how much it was going to last long for. So we couldn't make plans or travel back home or do something else we wanted to do because they kept saying next week school will resume, next week school will resume. So quite a lot of us were still around, and I remember I had this friend, he's Cameroonian and a medical student who were really close. At the time, I had other activities that I could do, but Leslie was really bored. And we tried so many activities from swimming, we even did weightlifting. It was very funny. We had to control our own weight in the lodge at the time. So we did quite a lot of stuff, and there was this gaming studio, like we played PS, and he didn't really enjoy electronic games. So I told him, you know what, I'm going to design one long, boring game for you. But now, it's not long and it's not boring. With more knowledge, I found out. So that was how the whole thing started. I designed a game for Leslie, and we played that game I think once in the compound. It was just pencil, sketch on cardboard with dice from Ludo, stones, just things that were around.
In 2016, a few years after making his first game, he registered his game production publishing company called NibGuide, which focuses on tabletop games such as board and card games.
First, NibGuide is actually an acronym. It's Nigeria Board, Card, Role Play and Dice Games. Because at the time when the name was conceptualized, I didn't really think we were able to venture into miniature games, which is another type of tabletop games. I was opportune to be in a group of young people, some from UK, some from Kenya, and those from UK brought more tabletop games, card games and all. And I think it was in their eyes that I saw that I had value. Because I designed the game in 2013, but I never really looked at it until I was in that group in 2015. So that was how I started learning about the production side. And then from production side, we were making a bit of prototypes here and there. You can't sell those anyway at the time. So that was how all of these things that now make up Knickout Games started. So Knickout Games is basically a designing, a publishing, a manufacturing, and a promotional company.
Casey, whose goal is to get more people to appreciate and access locally made games, explains that tabletop games offer varieties of fun and interesting games depending on people's taste.
All my children are good. I love all my children. But the first game we designed is, we call it Ukubwa. Along the line, I found out that I actually misspelled the name. Ukubwa is supposed to be greatness in Swahili. So it's a game that, in simple terms, tries to tell the story of a Nigerian, or a young Nigerian, from the idea conceptualizing stage to talent discovery to training themselves to actually working and then becoming even a philanthropist. So that is what the game is about. What you lose, what you gain, and what you have to give up, and all of those. So Kubwa is still there, we still play. Well, right now there are games we want to bring out. 2 games. One is Bidding Room and the one is Instant Sync. Most of African art is going from museum to museum. Literally, like they are arguing how it shouldn't be in this museum, and then they transport it to another museum. There's no value, there's no monetary value. But we now look at other forms of art from other cultures, and somehow millions, you'll be earning millions, this one is sold at this, and you're like, how? So Bidding Room is basically about 35 artifacts from across Africa, 20 from Nigeria and then 15 from across Africa. And then a group of game players take on personalities, African personalities, and they are bidding for this item. That's what the game is about. So there are 4 different types of bids and all of those. And then Instant Sync is a fast-paced social party games about words that you have to sync with another player. So we have those 2 games, and then there is Village War. Village War is a dual-verse. It's just a mix of Igbo fantasy, Igbo history, Igbo mythology, and our own kind of fantasy that we added, where 5 villages that represent the 5 eastern states are all, like they are fighting wars. Well, the beginning of the game starts with how the Igbo tribe even started, up till the present Igbo tribe. So it's a game that we are looking forward to. There's actually a story. We went to the studio to do the music. So there's like the Oja. There's Oja is flute in Igbo. And then we got a professional to play it. We've done videos for people to understand the story, because once you hear the story and you're playing the game, it makes more sense.
Regardless of the challenges that comes with designing and creating tabletop games from start to finish, which he thinks is an interesting process, Casey thinks the major challenge in the designing process is the availability of infrastructure.
When you talk about the infrastructures, it doesn't stop at just conceptualizing the game. You have to now look at, okay, what is around and how do I make my prototype? And that's where there are most challenges. For instance, I first saw a dice set in 2016. I was like mad. I was like, hey, because all growing up, I thought there was only 6-sided dice, and a lot of people in Nigeria, in Africa, in developing countries also think that way. And then when I found out that there are different tokens, there is one called nipples, there are one called cubes. Now my mind said, so that's the infrastructure part. And then play testing. Maybe one of the reasons why I'm good with having personas in my head was when I started, there were nobody to play test games with. So play testing is simple. It's when you have a game idea, the next is put them on paper, carve out something. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then look for people to play the games with. But if you don't have people who even love to play games, apart from the old classics, or who are not enthused with games, it becomes wahala. Then I will be forcing my friends, my colleagues. Some of them would be like, just to do it. So I had to force and learn how to adapt. So it's about having those infrastructures. If you have them, it makes designing the whole process easy for you. Now we've gotten to a point where there's now another bigger problem, which is now distribution and marketing, right? And it has to do with infrastructures problem and all. So again, it's about the individual side where you just enjoy being creative, and then there is the part where you need a community to sustain that creativity.
Nigeria's tabletop game industry, according to KC, is largely untapped. Thus, there is a need to continuously expand and leverage on a variety of opportunities the industry creates.
I know that there are so many opportunities. The tabletop games industry, it's not limited. The value chain is vast, in the sense that almost any skill can be accommodated. So you don't just need to be a designer to be in the industry. You can be, if you like, you can be shooting interviews like this, like doing interviews with designers, and you're earning on YouTube. If you're a photographer, you can come take shots of games or people playing games. In the tabletop game tech world, there is a board, an electronic board that is already in existence, where you can play with anybody anywhere, and the tokens are moving. If you want to put on your Google, like AI Google, you'll be seeing and you're using your one to move. So that tech part, if you're into the tech, you can come in on that side. If you're into marketing, you can come in. If you're into leisures, you can open your game cafe and start using games to earn. And now NGOs are beginning to use games in schools because it's a play method. Organizations are using games as a team bonding tools. So the application it's based on your own creativity and how you're able to use it. But there are so many opportunities in this industry for young people and old people and children.